Hey everyone, Olivia Reiner here with Ryan Wood following the Packers' loss to the Cardinals, their first home loss in quite a while.
Last season, yeah.
Yeah, it's been some time, Ryan. What does this loss mean for the Packers?
Well, Olivia, that's an interesting place to start because I think the one thing that they had to hang their hat on with everything else that had happened is that, hey, they haven't lost at home yet, and then this. So I got on the beat in 2014. I've seen some losses in that time, a couple of losses at Tennessee, at Washington, some blowout losses late in the 16 season that precluded the run the table that season. There were some bad losses. This is the worst loss I've ever seen. They were 2-touchdown favorites. You can make a case that the Cardinals are the worst team in the NFL. They have beaten San Francisco twice, so they have that going for them. But a week ago, Arizona gets beat 45-10 to the Los Angeles Chargers. 2 weeks ago, they lose at home to the completely dysfunctional Oakland Raiders, and then they just won inside Lambeau Field. It was a disgraceful performance. It was the worst loss that I've seen this team have in my time on the beat, and it's going to open a lot of questions going forward, and we'll see what happens.
And you think of all of the things that were supposedly going in the Packers' favor coming into this game. You got the weather. You're playing against an arena team.
Yeah.
You're playing against a QB who not only hasn't played in an inclement weather game, but you're playing against a QB who played in California in college.
A rookie QB. I mean, I spent most of this time watching this game thinking, boy, it doesn't seem that long ago that Aaron Rodgers was upset that they only beat the Buffalo Bills and rookie quarterback Josh Allen 22-0. What happened? Now, the defense clearly is beat up. It's declined. The defense shut out Josh Allen in September. They gave up 20 points to Josh Rosen today. But the offense was even worse than when Aaron Rodgers was upset week 4. They scored fewer points. The Cardinals are one of the worst offensive and defensive teams in the league. So both ways you slice it, a pitiful performance for the Packers.
Thanks for joining us, guys, and thanks for commenting as well. We're getting a lot of comments, of course, about Coach Mike McCarthy. What does this game mean for his career?
Well, Judy says fire Mike McCarthy now, and I'm sure she's not the only one. It's not going to do anything good to fire Mike McCarthy now, but if there was ever a way that this organization, the Packers, that were almost definitely no chance they would fire him before the season would run out, would fire him in the middle of the season, it would start with losing a home game to the Cardinals. That would be the one way I could have thought of that would have opened the door to that. So I don't see what good comes of not waiting till Black Monday. I think that's the latest that you'll see Mike McCarthy employed. I don't see what good comes of not waiting till then. But if I don't see what bad comes from if they're going to lose to this team at home, you've hit rock bottom. There's nowhere further to drop than losing to a team that might have the claim to being the worst team in the NFL inside your home stadium and getting booed off the field. So, yeah, if you want, sure. I think it opens the door to all bets are off.
Is there any possible way that he could even salvage his season?
Gosh, I don't see it. I would be stunned if Mike McCarthy was the head coach next year with where this season has gone. They have pieces. They have an MVP quarterback who's obviously, and Aaron Rodgers, not playing like an MVP quarterback, but he is an MVP quarterback. They have a franchise left tackle. They have a number one receiver. They have a defense that is playing well enough to support the pieces you have on offense, and they're 4-7-1. It just looks so dysfunctional out there. The offense cannot get out of its own way. Despite the pieces they have, they can't put points on the board. And it certainly looks like, and look, Aaron Rodgers, apropos, he turned 35 today. The window's not going to be open much longer. Keeping things in place at this point, I don't see what good comes from that.
We saw the return of Randall Cobb today. He had a pretty big reception at one point at the end of the game that ended up getting called back due to an offensive penalty. What did you make of his return?
It was uneven. He wasn't by any stretch the reason that they lost today. I thought if you wanted to take one bright spot today, Davante Adams is still a darn good receiver. He's caught touchdowns now in 9 of the 12 games, and he's been an offensive machine, a point-scoring machine for an offense that needs every point he can get. And Randall Cobb is, that play at the end that got called back, the third down because of the Jason Spriggs holding. It was a kind of symbolic of the day as a whole. The other play, you want to talk about a receiver, Marquez Valdez-Scantling having a touchdown with his 4.3 speed on the outside and literally tripping over his own feet. It's a wet field. It was snowing, sleeting today. But that's where this team is. Even the plays that are wide open. It reminded me of the should have been a touchdown last week in Minnesota to Devontae Adams where he's wide open in the end zone. Even the easy plays are not getting made. That's not a good place to be.
Getting a lot of comments that McCarthy should be fired now and that the Packers should not wait to fire him. Also saw a comment, I believe, from Dan earlier asking what pieces are missing from this team right now.
It's not even personnel. It's one direction. It just seems like there's so much. And Aaron Rodgers spoke about not splintering after Minnesota, but on the field it just seems like a team that is splintered, a team that cannot go all the same way, all in the same direction. And I talked with left tackle David Bakhtiari after the game. He pointed to situational football. That's been a problem all year. I asked him, isn't it fair to say good teams play good situational football? And he said, it certainly helps. I mean, if this was a good team, it would be playing good in situational football. It would be playing good on third down. It's been terrible on third down. It'd be finishing drives in the red zone. It hasn't all year. It'd be forcing turnovers. They don't. Those are the things that good teams do, and those are the things that this Green Bay team has not done seemingly all year.
A lot of people are asking about Aaron Jones, and asking what led to his lack of touches this game. We saw a lot of Jamal Williams. Why do you think Williams was put in over Jones?
It was weird. I wonder if the bad field, the fact that it was a wet field, had anything to do with it. They did. I mean, they gave him the football today. He just didn't get as much production as they have in the past. I guess if you were to give the Cardinals one attaboy, that would be it. They defended Aaron Jones pretty well, but look, Aaron Jones not getting the football is not why they lost today. Aaron Jones could have been inactive, and they still should have beaten this Cardinals team by 3 touchdowns. That's how bad this Cardinals team is. Their 2 wins this season had come against a Jimmy Garoppolo's 49ers team. They just lost to the Oakland Raiders 2 weeks ago at home. This is a terrible Cardinals team that hadn't played anywhere near this level today, and they didn't even play well today. The Packers just lost. So there's not one thing. I mean, it's just, you can't say, they give the ball to Aaron Jones more, as you could at times this season, earlier this season, and they win. They got outplayed. They got beat at home against a terrible team that was one of the worst, if not the worst, in the NFL.
Lori had noticed that Aaron Rodgers' body language was a little off again today, and that's sort of been a running theme over the past several weeks. Did you notice anything about the way he was carrying himself on the sidelines, on the field?
He's certainly not having fun. I mean, that's clear. Now, the whole body language thing is always interesting to me because they're 4-7-1. They've lost, 3 or 4 straight games. They can't win right now. They can't even beat the Arizona Cardinals at home. Do you want him to look happy? I mean, he's not going to look like he has a bounce in his step when this team can't win. So I get the body language question. It's not great optics, obviously. But it's also, to me, it's not unexpected because he looks like a losing quarterback right now, and that's what his team is doing. He's not playing well himself. I would expect him to look the way he does.
Michael wants to know if the same issues that the Packers are facing week to week, does that fall on the coaching staff?
Yeah, situational football is usually a good indicator of coaching, I think. The fact that it just seems like the quarterback and the coach are not on the same page, that falls on both, but Mike McCarthy's not absolved of that by any stretch. If Pete Doherty, my colleague or columnist, he wrote a column this week about it. Sure looks like the coach has lost the quarterback, and nothing you saw today would suggest otherwise. If the coach has lost the quarterback, guess who's not going to depart after the season? The quarterback's staying here. So, I mean, that's not, it doesn't spell good for Mike McCarthy.
Paul would like to see Clay Matthews gone at the end of the season. What do you think Clay Matthews' future looks like in Green Bay?
On the right deal, in the right situation, the right role, I think that he can still have value for this team. Now, that role is not as your top edge rusher. He's not that anymore. It's not on a double-digit $1 million per year contract. That's not what he is anymore. But if you want to give him 5 years and bring him back as a guy who can roam the defense, play primarily off ball and have him go sideline to sideline, which I think he still has that ability, and then overhaul the edge rush position. I'm talking draft 2 guys high in the draft, maybe bring in a third as a significant free agent. No stones unturned. Take every avenue to bolstering that position. I do think Clay Matthews on the right deal has some value. They just can't. I mean, his days as a double-digit sack guy are long gone.
just saw a comment about Mike Pettin being decent compared to the rest of the team and the way that things are headed right now. How did you make of Pettin's game today?
Well, it's a good question. It certainly doesn't help that Kevin King, who is, when healthy, their top corner, has missed 4 straight games. This defense was significantly worse than in a similar situation against Josh Allen against Buffalo early in the season. You could see clear decline. It did look like through, about 5 minutes ago in the second quarter that this defense was going to have its way against a rookie quarterback again, but Josh Rosen got a little bit of help. They were on this defense. I just don't put, there's so much attrition on that side of the ball right now, especially in the secondary. It's not a full complement of players, and they play like that. I mean, there's no excuses in the NFL. You have to still get stops and win games, but it would be foolhardy to expect this defense to look complete when it's not in personnel. So I think that's where it is.
Lots of comments about Randall Cobb, calling for him to also be gone at the end of the season. What do you make of his future in Green Bay as well?
Yeah, it could be nearing an end for sure. He's got a big supporter of Mike McCarthy, but it sure doesn't look like Mike McCarthy will be here next year. So they're positioned at receiver, I think, better than they are on defense with Clay Matthews to move on from Randall Cobb. They've got some young pieces there that I think will continue to grow with this quarterback. They also obviously have a number 1 receiver in Devontae Adams. So if you said of the two, who's more likely to be back next year, Randall Cobb or Clay Matthews, I would say Clay Matthews. And I think that's kind of where their roster is right now.
We're going to take a few more questions, guys. Been seeing a lot about Kumaro. How did you make of his first appearance with the Packers today?
Limited. It's interesting because you're about to see this team, just as they did last year, go into the developmental part of their season where guys like a Jay Kumaro are going to get more opportunity because the playoffs, the playoffs were already done before today. Woo, they are long done after that. You can kiss that goodbye. A week ago, I don't even know how you describe it now. So they're in the developmental stage. I think because of that, Jay Kumaro, Robert Tonyan, guys like that are going to be getting a lot more snaps just to see what they can do and give them a look going into the offseason.
How about Nick Perry on the IR at the moment? What does his future look like in Green Bay?
Yeah, I would not be surprised if Nick Perry is not back next year. Obviously, in the NFL, you're not tied to contracts. So they have to, Clay Matthews or Nick Perry, they have to overhaul the edge rush. They schemed some pressure on Josh Rosen today. A couple times the delayed blitz got there. But they don't have the personnel right now to get pressure on 4 and drop 7. They can't do that, and you want to be able to do that in this league.
I'm seeing some comments commenting on maybe that there are people above Mike McCarthy that also need to go.
I don't expect that. I think actually Brian Gutekunst had a heck of an offseason when you look at the draft that he had. When you look at Tramon Williams has been a decent player for him. Obviously Jimmy Graham hasn't been what you'd hoped he would be, but I don't think that having Jordy Nelson would have been any better if you look at his season in Oakland. So I think that's kind of a wash. I would definitely keep Brian Gutekunst in place and build forward from there. I think what's going to be interesting is, do they let Brian Gutekunst make the head coaching hire when that time comes, or is it going to be Mark Murphy's call? I think that's going to be very interesting. Our colleague Tom Silverstein wrote about that this past week, but Brian Gutekunst is going to stay in place, and he should.
You think so? Like in your opinion, you think that he should stay?
I think so. I think it's the right. Not only will he, but I think he should too. Yeah, I think he did enough this offseason, and I don't think the issues plaguing this team from a personnel standpoint could all be fixed in one offseason. They had almost nothing at edge rusher. We've learned over the course of the season that they basically had nothing at safety. That's to go with the fact that they had basically nothing at cornerback, and they've been better at corner there. Yeah, I think that he's made improvements and he needs more time.
I saw one comment that was fairly optimistic, saying that a lot of the pieces are there for the Packers. There's just they need a few more additions to make things go right. And Aaron Rodgers in his press conference after the game today said sort of a similar thing, that at the beginning of the season he saw a lot in this team, and that he thought that the team that they had at the beginning of the season was a playoff team. What happened? Where did things go wrong?
Well, that's a good point, and I think he's not the only one who's shocked. There was a lot of shock in the locker room, rightfully so. No one saw 4-7-1 coming, and what makes today worse, what makes losing to this team worse, is the pieces are there. There's a franchise left tackle. There's an MVP quarterback. There's a number one receiver. Not a lot of offense in the league have all three of those pieces. There's also a really good running back in Aaron Jones. They have pieces, and when you have pieces, you beat teams like that, like the Arizona Cardinals at home. So the fact that they couldn't, it's very damning of where this situation is with the Packers going forward. It's the reason there's no coming back from this point, because the pieces are in place to be a heck of a lot better. If not a Super Bowl contender, they should be a team that is in the playoffs. They should be a team that is contending, and they're not. They're not even close. So there's really no excuse for it.
Yeah, we'll see what the mood of the locker room is like tomorrow. We'll see how McCarthy's feeling tomorrow. We'll see if there's any breaking news tomorrow. As always, please follow along with us. Packers News, we will have all of your updates from media availability tomorrow. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We appreciate you interacting with us. Thanks for sticking with us. We appreciate it. We will see you guys very soon.